Hi guys, and welcome back to the Knitting Expat Podcast. My name is Mina, and yes, this is episode 128. Today is Tuesday, and it is the 6th of November. I believe today is midterms election day. Not going to comment on it, it's just, it was on the radio this morning. So, anyway, so I'm recording right now. I don't typically record on Tuesdays, but it's been a while. It's been over a month since I last recorded a podcast, so I really wanted to sit down and have a chat with you guys. The knits have quite literally been piling up, and yeah, like I said, I really want to chat with you guys about a few other things as well as just what I've been knitting lately. There's a lot that's been going on and a lot that's been announced since I last recorded, and yeah, a lot to catch you guys up on. Layla's at nursery right now, so I have the house to myself, which is quite nice. The boys are here, obviously. I do not know if they will or won't make an appearance. I think they're both sleeping in our bedroom downstairs. And Perry's actually away this week. He's away all week. He doesn't get back till Saturday. He's actually back in the US right now for some work stuff. And yeah, so there's that. Just me. Thank you so much, by the way, to everyone for your lovely comments on the video I posted last week, the Five of Friends tag that Perry and I did. And if you haven't watched that, you should go check it out. It's the video before this on my channel. It was a lot of fun to record, and it was something I'd mentioned to Perry about doing back in like early September, but we were still settling in and finding our rhythm and stuff, and September was just such a busy month for both of us. And October was really busy, but I knew that he was going to be away for a lot of the time in November, so I was like, okay, let's just sit down and do this one morning. And yeah, we did. It was so much fun, and I hope to. Anyway, I'll talk about this more later. But just wanted to say a huge thank you to everyone for your lovely comments on that video. Okay, places you could. So I've got my notes on my phone this morning, so if I'm looking down, that's why. So you can find me online as Knitting Expat on Instagram, Mina Phillip on Ravelry. You can find there's a group for this podcast on Ravelry called the Knitting Expat Podcast group. I will be honest, it is not super active. I mean, it is active because I have knit-alongs running, but I'm not active really in the group at all. I do read everything, I do check everything. I try to check it once a day. Sometimes I do go a couple of days before I get the chance to check it. I do check it every day that I'm working, so Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays are my work days when Layla's at nursery, and I do tend to keep an eye on the groups a lot more closely on those days. But to be quite honest, I have so much going on right now that I don't have a whole lot of time to chat on Ravelry, which is a shame because I really used to enjoy doing that. I am definitely a little bit more active on Instagram, but again, I need to get better at interacting with people online than I am at the moment. But all that aside, those are the places you can find me. I did used to run a WordPress blog for the podcast, so actually if you do, the archives are all there. I haven't deleted anything, so it's knittingexpat.wordpress.com. I just haven't been uploading the most recent podcasts and show notes to that blog because with the move and everything, I just didn't get around to doing it. And I've just been putting the show notes in the episode thread on Ravelry, which I'll continue to still do, but I'm thinking I might also just put them below the video maybe. Like, do you guys prefer having it below the video or on YouTube, or in an episode thread in Ravelry, or both? Do you have a preference? Either way, let me know if you do. I still haven't decided what I'll do for that. I mean, this one will definitely be posted in the Ravelry thread for sure. And then what other things did I want to mention? Okay, so I have some recently released patterns that I wanted to talk to you guys about. Two of them are, oh, hi Hugo. Okay. Come here, buddy. Yeah? So that's Hugo, he's one of our two cats. Hey, you wanna sit here and be nice and be polite and not stick your bum in everyone's face? So actually the two patterns I have to show you are socks, part of the sock club for this year. So you can't actually purchase these as individual patterns yet, but you can purchase the sock club still. They are available to purchase at all times. You do get, with each sock club you get essentially 7 patterns, but one of them was like a bonus free pattern, which was last year's Christmas pattern, the Mistletoe Kisses socks. Hey, what are you doing? You just want to be centre of attention, don't you? So the first one, these are the Snuggery socks, and these were the pattern for October. Sorry, October's pattern. And so these are knit out of Wool and Vine yarns on her footsie base, which is a BFL nylon, in the moon. Okay, so Hugo knocked the camera over, which is the first time he's ever done that. So I'm sorry if the setup's a bit different. But as I was saying, I've knit these out of Wool and Vine yarns on her footsie base, BFL nylon, in the Mooncusser colourway, which is one of her Halloween colourways. So it was rather appropriate that this was the October pattern. So this was from the Cozy Sock Club. And then for November's pattern, which was just released last week, I have the Travail socks. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's a French word. And this was knit out of Sweet Sparrow yarns in the Clara colourway. I think this is on her, yeah, this is on her Stellina base. And yeah, it's just a really fun, simple knit pearl texture pattern. And Clara is one of the characters from the Nutcracker. So again, I thought it was fitting to have like a more wintry themed yarn released at a more wintry time of the year. So this is actually the last pattern from the Wanderlust Sock Club. So that club has now essentially ended in terms of new patterns being released, and there's just one more pattern to be released for the Cozy Sock Club in December. Yeah, what else do we have to talk about? I do have a couple of other announcements that I wanted to discuss. Okay, so other news, I'm going to be teaching at Vogue Knitting Live, which is so exciting. I am excited but also a bit nervous. This is my first time teaching in that sort of a setting. There are still spaces actually for all the classes now. I think a couple of them had sold out a while ago, but they contacted me to see if I'd be able to take more students, and I said for a couple of them I would, so they've actually opened up a few more spaces in a couple of those classes. So you can go ahead and sign up if you still want to. I'll leave a link down below to the Vogue Knitting website where you can sign up for classes if that's what you're interested in. I'm teaching 3 classes. One is how to knit socks 2 at a time. I'm also teaching a pattern maths class, which is more about how to essentially hack a pattern to suit your gauge and where you might need to make adjustments and how to make those adjustments to get better fit, or to make some modifications that you might want to make, or yeah, just covering the basics on like pattern hacking, I guess, essentially. And the third one is how to knit the German short row heel and mini heel flap adjustment. Yeah, so those are going to be the in-person classes that I'll be teaching. Hey, what are you doing? And then on the same vein as news about Vogue Knitting Live, I designed a pattern for Primrose Yarn Company, who will be vending for the first time at Vogue this year or next year. And Kelsey, who's the owner behind Primrose, got in touch to see if I would like to design something to be launched at Vogue, and I said absolutely. And so what I designed, is, you've seen this before, but I didn't tell you why I was designing it or what it was for, is the waffle pullover. So this is the pullover that I've designed for Vogue. I think it will actually be released a couple of weeks before Vogue starts, but the idea was it's for that. And this sample will be displayed at the booth, I believe. I still need to speak to Kelsey about all the details, but I believe the sample will be at the booth all weekend. And yeah, really excited about it. I'm not going to go into all the details about the different yarns that I use, but I did use the Margot base, which is 150 gram Fringham weight skein. It's a merino cashmere nylon in 5 different colours. This pattern is currently with testers at the moment, and it will be released in the new year around the time of Vogue Knitting Live. So there's those. And let me see. There was definitely something else I wanted to mention. Okay, so I've got 2 more things to talk about. One is the 2019 Sock Club. So that is well and truly tail in the mouth. Thank you, Hugo. What is up with you? that is well and truly underway in terms of my preparations for it. There's going to be 4 main patterns that will be part of the club. So what I've decided for next year, and I think I've talked about this before, is that I'm going to have 3 clubs next year. The first one's going to be the sock club, then it's going to be the mini skein pattern club, and then the gift knitting club. And they're going to be, each club is going to run for 4 months. So I'm splitting up the year. They're not going to run at the same time, but you know, when one ends, the next one will start. What I've decided to do, and I'll see if I can actually get this done, is to include an extra bonus pattern with each club. So you get 4 patterns, one released each month, but then there'll also be a bonus 5th pattern in there as well. And that bonus 5th pattern will be released as an individual pattern when the clubs go up for pre-sale, which is when you get them. I will do a separate video for each club when it gets close to the pre-orders going up. But what's going to happen with the sock club is the pre-orders are going to go up probably by the end of next week for the sock club, and then when you pre-order, or when you buy the ebook essentially before any of the sock club patterns have been released, you will have 1 pattern already in there, and that will be the Christmas sock pattern for this year. So that's already been done, the sample's all done up. I just need to finalize the pattern, and then yeah, so then that will actually be released as an individual pattern that anyone can purchase. But if you're buying the sock club, you get that pattern for free, essentially. And then yeah, and then starting January 1st, the first pattern will be released, and then every month after that for 4 months. So January, February, March, and April will be the sock club. And then probably what will end up happening is at the beginning of April, I will launch the pre-sales or the pre-orders for the mini skein pattern club, which will then go on sale in the patterns will start releasing in May, but then when you pre-order, the bonus pattern will be released as well, and you'll get that at that time. I hope that's not confusing. Anyway, like I said, I will have a separate video for each of the clubs to go into it in a bit more detail, explain how it's going to work exactly, when the patterns are going to be released, the pricing structure and how that's going to work, and all of that jazz. Because it'll be slightly different for each one, I think, as well, just depending on the patterns involved. Okay, Hugo, you're just giving off so much fuzz everywhere. I'm going to have to get you off the table in a minute. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is something I've been thinking about for a while now, and I sort of held off from doing it, but now there seems to be less and less reason not to do it. There's been a lot of talk recently in the knitting community, I guess, about how it's quite hard as a designer to make a sustainable income. And it is really difficult. I'm very fortunate that we're in a position where my income isn't our sole source of money in this household, and so, you know, being able to support a family on designing has not necessarily been a huge issue for us, and like I said, I'm incredibly fortunate about that. But at the same time, I don't want to undervalue my work either, and I feel like in the past I hadn't been quite so confident in my abilities or in my designs, and I may have been undervaluing them. So with that in mind, I'm probably going to have a review on how I price my patterns, and sort of rejig that a little bit. And in line with that, I'm also going to be switching to selling my patterns in pounds rather than dollars. Up until now, I've been selling all my patterns in US dollars. That's how they've been listed on Ravelry and how I've been selling them for the last few years, or since I started. When I first started selling patterns, we were living in the Middle East, so it made sense to do it in dollars. And then we were in the US, again, made sense to do it in dollars. But since we've been back in the UK, I've actually been, and even throughout this whole time, I've only ever had a UK PayPal account. So in actual fact, I probably really should have been listing them in pounds to begin with, because I didn't really realise it initially. And again, because when I first started, I wasn't expecting to end up where I have ended up. And it was just a bit of fun, a little bit of just, you know, it was just to pay for my hobby essentially when I first started. But it got to a point last year when I realised I'm actually losing a lot of money, or it's costing me a lot of money in exchange rates with PayPal, because every time someone buys a pattern from me in dollars, I then not only pay the PayPal fees and Ravelry fees, but also end up paying PayPal a conversion rate fee, like a currency exchange rate fee. And they never give you the best exchange rate either. PayPal is not a bad exchange rate, but it's not the best. So I'm actually losing money on every sale just because I'm selling in dollars rather than pounds, which seems really stupid. So I'm going to be switching that over as well to pounds. So when I switch to pounds, that's kind of at the same time I'm just going to rejig my prices to reflect what I feel like they should be. I've tried really hard to keep my patterns as affordable as possible without undervaluing my work so far, and I'm going to keep trying to do that. So yeah, I hope that doesn't upset anybody. I hope that doesn't disappoint anybody. I hope you guys can understand that and where I'm coming from. And yeah, it's not a decision I've come to lightly. I've been thinking about this for a while, and I feel like now's a good time to do that, especially now that we know we're going to be in the UK for the foreseeable future. I'm not going to be able to get a US PayPal account to fix any sort of currency conversion issues. So so yeah, I feel like basically probably by the end of next week, by the time the sock club goes up for pre-sale, all of this will have been done. I'll probably sometime next week I will rejig the pricing and change the currency that my patterns are sold in on Ravelry. So just forewarning, if you do want to buy any of my patterns right now whilst they're still in dollars, go ahead. But yeah, I felt like I wanted to have a chat with you guys about that. Okay, I feel like that's all the admin-y stuff done, and now we can jump right into the knitting. I will say first off that a few of the designs that I have to show you, so a few of the things that I've knit, I don't actually have to show you because they're designs. Oh, one other pattern that has been released since I last spoke to you was the Hunter's Moon Shawl, which I released at Indie Untangled just before Rhinebeck. And I don't actually have the shawl to show you because I left it with Sam, who is the dyer behind Lavender Loon, to use as a show sample at some upcoming events that she's going to be vending at. So I don't have the sample to show you anymore, but if I remember I'll stick in a photo, but I probably won't remember. Yeah, so I have three sock patterns which I don't have to show you. One is the Christmas sock pattern for this year, and the other two are from the sock club for next year, so I don't have those at hand to show. Well, I do have them at hand, but I'm not going to show you, to keep it nice and a nice surprise. So the first thing I have to show you is my Rhinebeck sweater. I did show you briefly in my Rhinebeck haul video, but I wanted to show it on the podcast. So this is the Rhapsody in Cables pullover by Hoodie Locatelli. I knit this out of oval O-wash worsted in the Juneberry colourway. I actually picked this yarn up at Rhinebeck last year, specifically to knit this pattern, which was a gift from a friend. And yeah, I wanted to knit it up as my Rhinebeck sweater for this year. So I thought it was quite fitting, having purchased a sweater quantity at Rhinebeck last year, to wear it as my Rhinebeck sweater this year. It's a really lovely all over cabled pattern with a bit of lace in there as well. And yeah, it's a really fun construction, and all in all, it didn't actually take all that long to knit once I actually got on with it. I cast it on and then didn't touch it for ages after the first week, because we were moving and a whole bunch of other stuff. Design stuff took priority, but then I picked this up again in September and powered through it and finished it up. I did use 7 skeins for the size that I knit. I knit the medium size, so the third size in. I think that's about a 47-inch circumference, chest circumference. The pattern does call for like a lot of ease, and I didn't go for the maximum ease, or for the ease recommended for my size. I should have actually knit the size up from the one that I did to get the right amount of ease, but I didn't want it to be that big on me. For this one in particular, especially because it's a heavier weight garment, out of worsted weight rather than fingering weight, I felt like extra ease would have been a bit too much. And also I knew I didn't have enough yarn for the bigger size. And finally, I am in the process of trying to lose weight, so then I'm hoping that this will work still. And then about the yarn, I actually did use all 7 skeins that I purchased. I had like 5 grams left over at the end, and plus my swatch. But the pattern actually calls for 6 skeins for the size that I knit. I did use extra because I lengthened the sleeves and I lengthened the body a little bit in the hem. having said that, I feel like based on the sleeve length in the pattern, the sleeve probably would have only hit me right at the elbow, which is a very unflattering sleeve length for most people, I believe. So I definitely would recommend having an extra skein on hand just in case, or at least I did anyway. I definitely needed that extra skein. I had hoped to get full length sleeves, but I would have needed an 1/8 skein to get full length sleeves. So the sleeves on this one hit me around like here, which is fine. It's not the worst thing. It's a pretty warm cut jumper, pullover, and yeah, I love it. Next up we have, we'll do a parade of socks, shall we? I have 3 pairs of socks to show you here. First up we have this pair of socks. All my socks were knit on US 1s, 2.25mm, either on high sharps or Chagu. Put that out there. This was some yarn, again, I picked up at Rhinebeck last year. This is Into the World, on whatever their standard sock base is, in the Great Minds colourway. This was actually from their second rack of yarn. So it was in the sale rack, essentially, is what I'm getting at. And I knit these whilst we were in Paris last month. Then these were actually, I knit these on the way to Rhinebeck on the flight over to the US. And this is, again, another vanilla sock. This was knit out of Legacy Fibre Arts. This is on their steel toe space, so 75/25 superwash merino nylon. And this is the Kirk colourway. So again, really love the fun colours in that. And finally, I knit these again whilst we were at Rhinebeck and finished them up once I got home. And this is, these are actually the London Beverage socks, is one of my designs. This one is available for purchase, it's not part of the sock club. And it's a bit hard to see in this variegated yarn on this, oh, there you go, you can see it better here. It's really fun textured pattern. And yeah, the yarn I use for this one is junk yarn on her Boss sock base, so it's a BFL nylon blend in the Luna colourway, which is a Harry Potter reference. And yeah, oh, and the Kirk colourway for Legacy Fibre Arts is a Gilmore Girls reference, if you weren't aware. So that's those. Then we have, I literally have 12 finished objects, 3 of which I couldn't show you because they're the designs, but there's a lot of stuff to go through. Okay, so I got to knitting Layla's Christmas presents, or her knitted presents anyway. So first up, I knit her a mix and match pullover, so I did the plain version, but I striped it this time. So I striped 2 yarns together. The yellow they're both La Bien-Aimée yarn, which I picked up when we went to Paris in March, end of March this year. And yeah, so the grey is Patagonia, the colourway, and the yellow is Yellow Brick Road Graffiti. So it has these like specks throughout it as well, which is really fun. And I really love how this turned out. It's just a 2-colour stripe, and it's on DK. It's out the DK weight. And I did the neckband and the hem in Patagonia, and then I did the cuffs on the sleeves in the Yellow Brick Road Graffiti, because I thought it'd be fun to have them be not quite matchy. And I knit the 2 to 4 year size. So this should fit her quite nicely. She hasn't actually tried it on yet, although she tried to put it on the other day, but it was still too damp to wear it. So this will be for her Christmas present, knitted present. And then I also knit her this hat, which she's obsessed with already. She's only worn it a couple of times, but I managed to get it away from her so I can hide it until Christmas. It's huge because it is actually an adult sized hat that I've knit for my toddler, because I figured if she doesn't wear it, then I can wear it. And I'm a little bit concerned that this pom-pom is probably a little bit big for her. It's quite weighty, so I might need to trim it down a bit more or just take it off, to be honest. I think it might be a bit much for her, but I'll just show you. That's what it looks like on. I've got my hair up in a little bun at the back, so it's looking a bit weird, but that's what it looks like. And yeah, so this is actually going to be another pattern that I write up. This is the this is going to be the London Beverage hat. So it's the same pattern as on the socks, just in hat form. I knit this using Autumn and Indigo yarn on the sport weight base. It's 100% superwash merino and it's in the Gold Rush colorway. And I did a slightly different ribbing than I did on the socks. It was something I was playing with, and really like how that turned out as well. So the idea is for Layla right now, if she wears it open like this, it's really big and quite slouchy on the back of her head. But this is why I didn't do a folded brim, was because for now, while she's still little, I can fold up the brim, have it as a cuffed brim, and then it's more appropriately sized for her head. I mean, it's still big, and it's big like circumference wise, but it fits nicely. It's not so big that she couldn't wear it, but she found it when it was damp still and insisted on wearing it, and then refused to take it off. Even when it came down and like covered her eyes, she refused to let us like help her get it out of her face because she was worried we were going to take it away. She is incredibly knit worthy and loves her knits. But yes, that's the idea behind this one. And then I figured I did it in an adult size because I figured if she doesn't wear it, then I'll wear it, and I really like this colour, so I wanted it to be multi-faceted usefulness, if that even makes sense. I will be knitting this pattern up again in a different yarn, probably an actual worsted weight yarn for the pattern. This was more just testing things out, and there are a couple of changes I want to make in the final pattern. Nothing huge, just little stitch count stuff. Then I had quite a bit of yarn left over from the sweater that I knit Layla, and the pom-pom is actually using all the yarn that was left over from the Autumn and Indigo. And then in this middle bit here, you can see there's like a stripe that's slightly darker, more golden yellow. That's actually some of the leftovers from the La Bien-Aimée Yellow Brick Road graffiti colorway. So the other thing that I knit out of the leftovers of the La Bien-Aimée yarn was I knit Layla some new mittens. So I knit some mittens last winter, and they are a little bit too small for her hands now. I mean, they still fit on her hands, but they're a bit short. So I knit her some longer mittens. And again, there are no thumbs in these ones because I don't really think she needs thumbs in her mittens right now. To be honest, she doesn't really need mittens all too often. Usually she's holding stuff in her hands or whatever if we're out and about, but it's really for if she's in the stroller and it's quite cold or whatever, and just to put these on her to keep her little fingers warm. And again, she loves wearing them, so that's nice. And again, I just sort of switch the striping up on the opposite mitten. Anyway, I think that's basically all the finished objects bar one. I'm just double checking. Oh, I also knit a hat for a friend of mine who I met up with my friends, not this weekend, just gone, the weekend before, for brunch one day at the weekend. And afterwards I stayed a bit longer to hang out with one of them while the others had to shoot off, and we were just wandering around the area where we were, and she just mentioned, she was like, oh yeah, I was asking her what she was doing for the rest of the day. She was like, oh yeah, I really need to go get a new hat and gloves and a scarf for winter. And I was just like, excuse me, who are you talking to here? Like, just ask and I can knit you a hat. I was like, I can knit you a hat. I won't knit gloves, and scarves are boring to knit, but I can knit you the hat at least. She laughed, and I was like, okay, just tell me what colour you'd like and I will see what I have and what I can do. So she said either like a grey, a cream, or like red. I was like, okay, great. So I got home, I dug through my stash and pulled out whatever I had, and sent her some photos, and she picked the red skein. And the red that she picked is actually the same red that I used in Layla's little red pullover, which is the little cabled raglan pullover that I've designed. It's not released yet, but it will be soon. And so she picked that colorway, and it's actually by Mon Sheep Sharp. It's the little red hood colorway that she dyed for me, and it was a fingering weight, so I wound it up and I held it double to create more like a DK / worsted weight. I had to knit it twice because the first time I got about a third of the way into the hat when I realised it was going to be too small, and ended up putting it on Layla's head, and it just about fit her, so I knew I had to rip it out. And then Layla was so sweet, she just stood there while I unravelled the whole hat on her head, or until it got to the brim. Then I asked her to take it off, and she did. And so I reknit it for my friend, and I posted about this on Instagram, and loads of people were like, oh, why didn't you just finish it off for Layla? And I was like, well, I would have, but my friend specifically picked out that yarn from my stash to be knit for her. So I couldn't exactly not do that after I'd said I would do it. Plus Layla already has something knit in that colourway, so that's fine. And I will knit her another hat at some point, and plus I just knit her this one, so, and she has a couple of hats already that she's set on hats for now, I think. But yeah, so I knit that for my friend. I used 4mm needles for the brim and 5mm for the actual hat part, and I will be writing that pattern up. Quite a few people asked me to do that, so I will. No guarantees on when it will be released though. Hopefully before the end of the year, but we'll see how things go. And then, but I've already gifted it to her because I saw her on Sunday, so I gave it to her then. But I did take a little bit of video before I gave it to her, literally on the train on the underground on the way to her house, and I realised I haven't taken any video of this, so I just sat there on the carriage taking some video. So I'll insert that here. Okay, so the last thing I have to show you is a new design that will be releasing again in the new year, just in time for Vogue. And this is a design that I knit out of Loop Fibre Studio, out of Stephanie, who's the owner behind Loop Fibre Studio, out of her new artisanal mill spun yarn. It's a worsted weight, 100 grams, 220 yards. 100% extra fine merino, and she gave me 4 of her colorways to use for a design, and we sort of chatted about it in her at Rhinebeck, and yeah, I got really excited about it. So the first color was this one, and it was so quick to knit up, by the way. 4 skeins of worsted weight and it knit up in less than a week. So this first skein is called Wide. The second skein is called Far. So they're actually designed to be pairs. So this was one pair, and so it's Far and Wide. It's actually the name of the shawl I decided on, is the Far and Wide shawl. So, but it starts with Wide and then it goes to Far, because then it blends into the third colour, which is Once, and this is literally all I have left of it. And then the final colour, which I have nothing left of it, is, oh sorry, that's not Once. Once I have nothing left of. Actually, you know what, I'll show you in the swatch that I knit up. So we've got, is that the right side? Or, yeah, that's the right side. No, that is. So we've got Wide, then you've got Far, then we've got Once, and then we've got For All. So the shawl's going to be called the Far and Wide shawl. And like I said, again, this is literally all I have left. It is great. I'm so in love with this. I'm so excited about it as well. So this is where it starts. It's knit on the bias, so it's a asymmetrical shawl. That's the word I was looking for. So start at this end, there's a bunch of garter, nice and easy, nice and squishy. And then you go into this fun texture pattern, which again is really easy to knit, really simple, and blends the next color with the first color. So we went from Wide to Far, and we have another block of garter. Then we blend with the next color, which is Once, in this section here. And then another block of garter. Then we've got For All, blending in with For All, and then again I knit with that colorway until it basically almost ran out, and then I switched back to the very first color to do the I-cord bind off, because I like a good contrasting bind off. I think it looks really nice and clean, gives it a clean edge. So that's the Far and Wide shawl, and it's huge. I haven't measured it yet, but it's absolutely massive. It was wider than my room where I was trying to block it, so absolutely crazy. I will put it on to show you really quickly what this looks like. I haven't trimmed the ends yet, so if you see ends poking out, that's what that is. and it is absolutely ginormous. You can easily wrap this around a couple of times. You can have it nice and squished up like this, so it will fit under like a jacket or a coat quite nicely, or you can have the ends hanging down and have it a little bit more looser around the neck. You can wear this in so many ways, and it's a really easy shape to wear. There's enough depth to give you good coverage in the front without being so long that you'll kind of feel all like weighed down by it or like a bit cumbersome. I mean, sometimes those types of shawls are great, and I absolutely love those kinds of shawls as well, but sometimes you just want something that's easy to throw on and doesn't take a lot of fuss. And, you know, you don't have to faff around with it too much to get it to lay nicely. But yeah, so this is fresh off the blocking mats. I actually finished this pretty early last week, but it was blocking and then went away for the weekend to my parents, and then yeah, so back now and it's all nice and dry. Love it, absolutely love this one. It is definitely one of my favorites. Like I said, really quick to knit up and just so squishy and so soft. And like I said, I was really inspired when I first saw the yarns, and this idea sort of came to me pretty early on. It's quite similar in terms of the shape compared to my snow day shawl, but the colours just sort of blend together a little bit more than in that shawl. And this is bigger, this is much bigger. That was using 350 gram skeins of a sport weight / DK, and this uses 400 gram skeins of worsted weight, so definitely a much larger shawl, but still lots and lots of fun to knit. So yeah, I'm really excited about this one. Still need to do some pattern photos for it, but this one, the pattern's actually already written up and it's with my tech editor right now, so hopefully that will get back soon and I will have it sent out to testers very soon. I have a couple of people lined up already for that. I'm not going to have a lot of testers for that one, so just want to have a really quick turnaround on it. Okay, I'm going to have a quick break. I need to change the battery on my camera and then I'll be back to chat about whips. Back now to chat about whips, and yeah, I actually only have two to talk to you guys about today, to be honest. One's in this one and one's in this one. Nice and easy, keeping it simple. And this is where I'm at. You know, this is my happy place, is having just 1 or 2 things on the needles at a time, maximum 3. I feel like more than 3 I end up feeling really overwhelmed, and funnily enough, nothing on my needles right now is a design. Which is kind of funny, because I pretty much always have a design project on the needles, and I will be soon. I think it was just because this was the last design thing I had on the needles, and I finished just before went away for the weekend, and then I was knitting the hat for my friend, which I guess technically was a design, but I finished that on Saturday, and because I wasn't at home, I didn't have any of my stuff to sort of figure out what to start next, and I'd taken yarn with me to start some gift knitting, so I decided to do that. So we'll chat about that first, shall we? In my thimble and thread make project bag, which really sad, I realised one of my enamel pins had fallen off sometime over the weekend. I think probably whilst I was on the underground, because let's face it, that's probably how my luck goes these days. I have this project, which is being knit out of this yarn. This is yarn by Wool Bearers in the worsted teal colourway. It's worsted weight in the teal colourway. If I can find the tag. I picked this up at Vogue 2 years ago. Yeah, superwash worsted in the teal colourway. That's the tag. It's 100% superwash merino, 220 yards in 100 grams. So this is being knit on US 4.5mm, sorry, 4.5mm needles, US 7s. And this, you may recognise, is a garden gnome hoodie. This is a garden gnome hoodie for my nephew, Josh, so Perry's sister's little boy. And I started this on Saturday afternoon, finished the body Sunday evening, I think, and then picked up for the hood, but I only had my 16-inch needles with me at the time, and it was a bit cumbersome to work the hood, especially in these early rows. It was a bit awkward, so I left it until I got back home, and then last night, after Layla had gone to bed, I picked up and I started working the hood. I only have maybe another 10 to 15 rows left before I bind off the hood, and then it's just onto the little dinky sleeves, so this shouldn't take me that long at all. It'll definitely be done by the end of the week, and that's another Christmas gift knit out of the way. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to have enough left over to knit him like a matching hat or anything else. I might have enough of this yarn left to do a pom-pom to go on the hood, but I will make the pom-pom easily detachable in case my sister-in-law decides that she doesn't want that on the hat, on the hood. Some people do, some people don't. I think it looks really cute. And yeah, so that's it in there in terms of projects. And then my next project is a pair of socks. Surprise, surprise. This is a pair of vanilla gift socks. It's quite funny actually, because I was really part way through these socks when I pulled out all the gift socks that I've knit this year so far to see what I had left to knit for Christmas, because I kind of knit throughout the year and put socks aside for gifts to be given as gifts, and sometimes I dip into that throughout the year for birthdays or other occasions and stuff. So usually around now, like October time, I pull it all out and I see what I have, what will fit who, and like sort of allocate socks to people, and then see where I need to fill in, so I know what I can focus my knitting time on, like my non-design knitting time on. And so I pulled everything out, and with all the socks that I finished recently as well, like with all of these and things, I was just like, hang on, I only have one more pair of socks to knit, and I already had the sock on the needle, so I'm like, technically this is it, this is the last sock that I need to knit for gift knitting this year. So between this and then that pullover for Josh, that's my gift knitting done. Early, super early, which is really nice. So I will be starting next year's gift knitting before Christmas has even arrived. Craziness. But anyway, so this is what I'm working on. This is the yarn is Knit Picks Felici. You might have already recognized that. Knit Picks Felici in the steamer trunk colorway. It's it's showing up a little bit more purple on screen than it is in real life. It's definitely more brown. Okay, that's a bit better. Yeah, it's more browns, like shades of cream and beige and brown. And these are actually going to be for my dad. So I've knit the leg really long for him because he likes the long legs on his socks. The very first pair of socks I ever knit him, he loved it, but then afterwards he said to me, he was like, is there any way you can make these taller? I was like, no, I'm not going to go back and like make them taller now. Plus I didn't actually have any more yarn left. I used almost the whole skein of yarn for that pair of socks. So I always try and knit his legs as long as I can stand to knit them. And I typically knit long legs on my socks anyway, so I do them extra long for him. So both socks have the heels in. I actually did, the thing was when I was knitting these, I only had my 32-inch Chiagu cable length cables with me, and I typically use these needles for concurrent sock knitting when I'm knitting designs. I was knitting these 2 at a time actually on this length. It can be done, it's a little bit cumbersome when you get to the heel, but it's not too bad when you're just knitting the plain, if you're just knitting the plain vanilla tubes. So I had them 2 at a time until I got to the heel. I then split them, and then I knit the heels 1 at a time on separate needles. I'm going to wait until I've done the gusset decreases on the mini heel flap, and then I'm going to put them back on 2 at a time to finish them up. So yeah, so that's where I'm at with that. And the heel is actually a yarn from Gabby, Once Upon a Corgi. This is her Narnia colorway, which was one of the yarns I used for this year's sock club, one of the patterns for the Coddywomple socks earlier this year. It was in the Wanderlust sock club. So that is those, and just in case you want to know what Knit Picks Felici looks like, if you've never seen a skein before, they come in 50-gram skeins, so you need to knit a pair of adult socks. And we can get that all back in there. So yeah, I just put those heels in. I had to knit the leg maybe another 5 or 10 rows longer, and then pop in the heels, which I've done. And yeah, so that's what I've been knitting on. I think next up I have I have 2 more friends whose birthday is in November, and so the hat that I knit for my other friend, it was sort of part of her birthday present. Her birthday was in October, and so I've got 2 more friends whose birthdays are in November, and so I'm probably going to knit them hats as well. So I've got that coming up. I have 2 more sock patterns for next year's sock club to knit, so those will be coming up. And then I want to start working on the mini skein patterns for the mini skein club as well, so that will be coming up at some point. I have these hats to write up the designs for, and all sorts of stuff going on. So, and I'm still planning and prepping for VKL, so a lot of stuff going on. Okay, moving on to acquisitions. I do actually have some yarn to show you, which is crazy, and both of these acquisitions are from 2 different people. actually arrived before I left for Rhinebeck. I just hadn't had any time to sit down and record a podcast before I left. So first of all, I had a chat with the lovely Shauna, who is the dyer behind Adelaide Cottage. Let me grab this out of the bag because they're so beautiful and you have to see them free of plastic. And I chatted with her about if she would be interested in collaborating on for one of the designs in the mini skein club, and she was all over that. She was really excited about the idea. So I said to her I needed 2 mini skein sets in gradients, and yeah, she did great. I absolutely loved them. So it's 8 skeins in total, so 4 skeins for each gradient, and she hasn't settled on what she's naming this gradient. She's decided to wait until she sees the design to then sort of figure it out and stuff. Anyway, so there's a gradient of blues and a gradient of browns, and what I said to her was I wanted a cool tone and a warm tone sort of mini skein set, so they play together quite nicely. There we go, that might be a better way of showing it. How beautiful are these? It's a really lovely plied yarn. So this is 75-25 superwash merino, 25% nylon. It's a really nice ply, good for that fibre content. It is fingering weight, 20 grams per mini skein, 90 yards. So yeah, absolutely love these, beautiful. And yeah, like I said, these arrived before Rhinebeck's, and I've been really eager to get these cast on soon. This I already know what it's going to be. I know what the design is going to be. I haven't written it up yet or figured out the maths behind it, but I'm pretty sure this will probably be the first one on the needles, because it's going to be the, I don't want to say simplest, but simplest from a design perspective, because I've already thought out so much of it, if that makes sense. Like, it's not going to take as much work for me to get to a point where I can start casting these on compared to some of the other mini skein projects, because I need to figure out more stuff for those ones. I hope that made sense. Then second of all, I have this lovely box of goodies to share with you. Now, the company that sent me these yarns, they sent them to me in exchange for a review. I'm always honest when people send me stuff to review. And it is by a company called Sierra Yarn. Sierra Yarn is actually, and they haven't asked me to say any of this, I just wanted to share it with you. It's a family-run company based out of Peru, and so they create Peruvian alpaca-based yarns. And they try to use eco-friendly methods and dyes and also, you know, all that sort of stuff to create their products, so that being as environmentally friendly as possible. Every sale that they make, they plant new trees, and there's all this information about what they're trying to do to basically be as eco-friendly as possible with their business, and to try and use the least toxic products as possible to create their items. And I will leave a link to their website, and specifically to their About Us page, where you can read a bit more about them. They're like I said, a Peruvian family. They've been in the textile industry for many years, and now the 3rd generation in this family are taking over the business and running it. And they've they've been trying to, like I said, use more eco-friendly methods, and their yarns are mainly based from like alpaca and organic cotton. Anyway, they wanted to send me some yarns to review and potentially try out, and yeah, so I want to share those with you. They sent me 4 skeins in total, which was very generous of them, and so on 3 of their different bases, I guess. So the only thing I would say that they could improve with their labeling is to actually include yardage and yarn weight on the labels. I had to go on their, it's actually quite easy to figure out if you go on their website, but it would have been nice to just have it on the tags as well. So I've just gone ahead and added it on so I can tell you when I'm reading them. So this first one is their line, I think they're all called the same. They're Inca sign, I think that's their sort of like branding for the yarn. And this one is the Chillin base, in the gum colorway. So it's like bubblegum pink. And this is 65% baby alpaca and 35% dry tex hand dye. I have no idea what dry tex hand dye is. I wasn't able to figure that out by Googling it. So I'd be interested if anyone knows what dry tex hand dye is. And there is 86 meters in 100 grams, and this is a bulky weight yarn. It's really, really soft. This is like kitten cloud soft, It's a lovely single ply bulky yarn in this really pretty sort of bubblegum pink. And it's very, considering how much alpaca is in it, it is very next to skin, neck, sort of soft. I know some people can find alpaca quite prickly, but this is very soft and not at all prickly, like at all prickly. The next one they sent me is on the Cusco base in the Quinua colorway. This is 123 meters in 100 grams, and it's a worsted/Aran weight. It's 100% alpaca, Suri alpaca. I'm not sure how to pronounce that colorway name. Oh, upside down. Help it's the right way up. It sounds and looks a little bit like quinoa, but it's not spelled like quinoa. Anyway, this is the yarn, and it's funny because it's not super soft to the touch, but that's mainly because of the ply structure. If you can see, it's a chain. It's like a chainette. There we go. You can see that there. It's a chainette, so it's not rough, but it's not like super soft like the other one I showed you. But yeah, I think this would knit up to be like a really good sort of hat or gloves, like mittens or something. A really nice accessory. I think that would be quite nice with that one. And then finally they sent me two skeins, 200 gram skeins, and this is how these are put up. So these are sold as like Hanks skeins, and these are sold as cakes. And so this is the chikan base, chikan. There we go. This is 248 meters in 100 grams. It's a worsted weight, I think, roughly, although it might knit up more like a worsted/Aran. In the burgundy colorway, it's 70% baby alpaca, 7% wool, and 23% polyamide. And I think the polyamide, if you look at, again, this one's also a chainette plied one. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it on camera very clearly, but it's basically like a mesh tube, and that's what the polyamide is. There's like a nylon mesh tube in there. There you go. I think you can just about see that in black. And then if any of you have ever worked with Drops Air or seen Drops Air, it's kind of like this mesh tubing where they've blown the fibers through it, and it's kind of just got them all attached, and it's all fuzzy and stuff, and that's basically what this feels like and looks like. It's super fuzzy, but it's super soft as well. Again, really nice next to the skin, soft. I'm actually thinking for one of my friends of knitting a hat for her out of this one to kind of really give it a test run and see how this yarn knits up and looks, and then I'll use the other one for a giveaway along with these two skeins. I'm planning on using these three in a giveaway, but I kind of want to knit one of them up just to see how it knits up, and so I can show you guys and let you know what I thought of it, or what I thought of knitting with it. Anyway, I really like the premise of what they're doing. I think it's quite interesting. They have some interesting yarns. They have more than these 3 bases on their website you can go and check out. And yeah, like, they're not paying me to say any of this. They literally just sent me yarn, and I said I would review it. So that's that. What else do we have to talk about? I think we have some knit along news to go over. There are 3 knit alongs going on. So there's the sock knit along, the 2018 sock club knit along. So the September and October months, I have drawn the prize winners. I just need to sit down and do the the prize winners video, which I'll probably try and record straight after this. Then we have the Triple Dutch cardigan knit along, which is currently ongoing, and that is going until mid-January or early January of next year. And then we have the Knitting Expat hat along, which was in to celebrate the release of the New York hat collection, and that's going to be running until the 2nd of December of this year. So I've been chatting for a while, it seems. My food was finished and I was in the oven for an hour. So let's get on with this. What was I saying? Knit alongs. Yes, so there's a link to the Ravelry group below this video, and you can find all the information in the relevant threads in the group over there. Then I don't think there were any new questions in the Q&A thread in the Ravelry group, but if there were, I'll answer those next time. Finally, weeks in review, because it has been several weeks. So lots been going on last few months. I may have not sat down and done a ton of like podcast videos, but there's been quite a fair bit of content going up on the channel. There's been some vlogs, there's been some reviews, there's been the Rhinebeck haul and recap. There was a Fibre Friends tag that I did with Perry. Again, thank you so much for everyone for your lovely comments on that one. Yeah, I look forward to doing something like that with him again soon. Maybe I'll do it with my brother, that'll be fun. You guys always seem to like seeing my brother. Maybe I'll do that with him one time. I did actually do a podcast with my brother way back in the early days. I think it was like episode 8 or 9. Or 7, like one of those really early single digit episodes, where he came onto the podcast for a couple of minutes, and it was quite funny. So maybe I'll do that with him, like asking him the same sorts of questions. I think that'd be quite funny. Anyway, sorry, that just randomly popped into my head. As I mentioned before, Perry's away this week. He's actually away for a lot of November. He's actually away more than he's here, which is a little bit sad, but it's okay. It's fine. He has a job, and this is part and parcel of that. It's just a busy month for him this month. That's fine. I'm planning on doing Vlogmas in December, so I'm really excited about that. I have some other fun things coming in the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that. And there's a little surprise, which I haven't actually mentioned at all yet. Only a few people know about it, but I'm planning on publishing that video sometime next week, hopefully early next week. And then the sock club's launching next week as well for the 2019 sock club. Then what else do we have going on? So I'm going to do Vlogmas in December, so I'll be daily vlogging, which probably means I won't have time to do sit down podcasts, which actually I think is going to work out okay. Last year with Vlogmas, I was looking after Layla full time. She wasn't in any kind of daycare or nursery. Whereas this year she is in daycare / nursery 3 days a week. So I will have more, like on the days when she's not around, they're just my work days. So I'm not entirely sure how interesting those vlog days are going to be. So I probably will use some of those days rather than being like a full vlog content, it will be a vlog plus maybe some sit down stuff. So I'll use those days to really catch you guys up on what I'm knitting, what I'm working on, where I'm at with designs and stuff. I think one of the videos I'll sit down and do like a year in review in terms of what I've been knitting for the year. You guys always seem to like those videos where I sort of recap what I've done in a year and things like that. So I'm thinking about the sorts of stuff I could do. I'm really looking forward to December this year. It's the first time we're going to celebrate Christmas in our own house, which is our own home, which is going to be lovely. And yeah, just really looking forward to it. So there might not be another sit down podcast this month, but there will be a few more videos coming your way. Then we went on a family trip to Paris. There's a vlog for that. Then I went to Rhinebeck shortly after. I literally had a 2-day turnaround before I had to leave again, which was madness really, but it was fine in the end. And there's a vlog for Rhinebeck, and then there's the recap video and haul. Then I've just been trying to catch up since getting back, to be honest. The last couple of weeks have been pretty busy. And then working on classes for next year's VKL, which I'm so excited about, but also really quite nervous at the same time. So if you are taking a class, please be kind. No, in all seriousness, I'm looking forward to it. Teaching has been something I've sort of been mulling over and thinking about. Whenever people bring it up or ask me if I would be willing to teach, I sort of always brushed it off as like, oh, I don't think I'd be a great teacher. But again, I feel like that's something that I've come around to and realized that being a good teacher is something you work at, like with anything else. And I'm looking forward to sort of expanding my horizons in terms of what I do with my knitting, and I think teaching would be a fun avenue to explore. So we'll see. I've had some people asking if I'll be teaching classes in the UK and stuff, and I'm like, at the moment I just want to see how this goes with Vogue in January and see how it goes, see what sort of feedback I get, and then based off of how that goes, I will look to see what I can do afterwards. I'm not making any plans right now, but we'll see. We'll see. I'd love to, but like I said, it just depends how things go. And then yeah, but Layla's just been coming on leaps and bounds. Seriously, it's crazy what that girl can do now. She is I feel like she went through this huge leap recently. in the last couple of weeks, like she went through this massive leap developmentally where it just seems like suddenly she's able to do all this stuff that she wasn't able to do before. Over the weekend, she figured out how to put her wellies on her own, the right feet and everything, and I was just like, what? When did you, what? How? Anyway, she also figured out how to do up the buckles on her booster seat that we use instead of a high chair, and she can also do it on her stroller. Craziness. I thought I'd at least have a bit more time before she figured out buckles. She's very particular, like everything has to go in the right place, everything, you know, has an order to things. She now is responsible to help us feed the boys. She actually gets really upset if someone else feeds them without her. The other day we had our grocery delivery and our milk had arrived and the groceries were coming quite early in the morning, and before we'd left to take Layla to nursery. And as the guy brought in all the groceries, he was like, oh, and here's your milk. It was by the front door. Layla gave him the dirtiest look. I kid you not. She was just like, how dare you touch my milk? How dare you do my job? Like, she was so mad about it. Not outwardly mad, but you could see it in her eyes. She was like, how dare you? How dare you touch my milk? Which was quite funny. Then she's been chatting a lot more. Her words are coming on pretty good. In terms of I can understand her, but probably most people wouldn't still really be able to understand what she's trying to say. She still says words with one syllable rather than using, or even like a half syllable rather than using the whole word. So she says ka for cat or da for dog. She says mummy, although sometimes she says money. She says daddy. She started to say Layla. She started saying something. She started to say shoes. Shoes are now shiz. Or the first food word that she has learnt is cheese, and she goes cheese. Or like yes is yeah, and no is no. Like she shakes her hand and everything. She's like no, which is really quite cute. Yeah, she says more. More is the one word that she says properly. She's like more. Usually in relation to when she wants more milk. Yeah, so that's just what I can remember off the top of my head, but she's saying more than that, I think, by now. But those are the most common ones that we get through on a daily basis. She's still not saying Hugo or Derek. Like, she doesn't try to even say their names. She just says cat every time she sees them. Yeah, that's basically it. Little update on my daughter's single sounds vocabulary. Anyway, I'm looking forward to chatting to you guys again soon. Like I said, I'm hoping to just record the prize winners video quickly after this, and then thanks for joining me today. Apologies, this is probably going to be a long one, but I will see you guys again soon. Bye.